Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is Molly Rulin. I am live from ShePodcasts in Atlanta, Georgia. I am representing Heartcast Media and podcast outfitters today. I am excited to be sitting here with Terri. Terri and I have been chatting it up over the last couple days about equipment and how we can solve some problems and get a setup that really makes sense for her. So I'm excited to introduce everybody. So Terri, tell us who you are.
Thank you so much, Molly. We're like best friends now.
I know.
Coming back and asking more questions.
That's right. Bring your mic just a little bit closer. There you go.
About
That's
right
perfect.
here?
Yeah.
Yay, this is why I need to learn about equipment. Yeah.
There you go.
So I am Terri Ann Heiman from the Empowered Spirit Show.
Okay.
Yep. It's a podcast about spirituality.
Oh.
Yeah, and the reason I really started it was because I had moved from living after 35 years in New York.
Okay.
Was a spiritual counselor, development, intuition, and moved to Birmingham, Alabama.
Holy cow.
Right where I was born. I went back to help my parents, and Birmingham, as most people know, is the Deep South.
Yeah.
Yep, and so when spirituality comes in, people think religion, but I'm not talking religion.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to address the spiritual but not religious population, and everybody looked at me when I got back like, what is she talking about? Bless
Right.
her heart. I heard that over and over. Bless her heart, right? Not necessarily a good compliment, right? So I decided a podcast would be a great way to start talking
Right.
and educating people.
Absolutely. It makes sense that you've been you have a New York vibe. You do. You have like that New York like style and sensibility about you, so that makes sense. That must have been a really difficult transition to make, culture shock for real.
It was definitely different. I had been coming down, and when my dad was injured, then my mom fell, I had started to come down and do a little of my teaching
Right.
to kind of see if people were up for it. And there was a little bit of interest, right?
Right.
But when I actually did move, it was like, oh my gosh. And I did literally fall on my face. Yeah, and like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing it? The phone's not ringing. People don't know what I'm doing. They're like standing outside my studio going, I can't go in there, right?
Right. What is
Yeah.
this?
But luckily, the tools I teach was the very ones I used to really kind of get me back up and running and just kind of persevere.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. It's that's a really worthy cause to want it to, what's the motivation behind that? I mean, clearly you want to help people.
I do want to help people. My story comes from, horrible divorce, living in New York, 2 small children, no family up there, that kind of thing.
Right.
And how I persevered. And it was really through going deep into my own self and asking those questions. Like, where am I? Who had I been listening to? Right? And I had not been listening to me. I was too busy running around and doing all the things. But when I had that moment of, wait, I am going to be okay. I need to listen to me.
Yeah.
And not give my power away.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm very empathic, and I was in a very narcissistic relationship. And I feel my purpose is to teach people how to own their power, really. And it is through that spiritual layer of energy that we can go deep within ourselves, pull the energy in, take ownership of that. I don't want people to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think it's so important. The older I get, the more like self-reflection I'm able to do. And man, it's painful.
Well, you know what? There is some pain. And we sometimes have to sit in the pain.
Yeah.
But it will go away. And underneath the pain is the experience or the lesson. And that's the
Right.
growth. And then it
Right.
also creates a nice, depth of energy. Like, you feel the energy you're going through. You understand, I get it now.
Right.
And then generally we don't make the same mistakes.
Right.
We make shifts. I call it course correct. We don't have to throw everything away. We just kind of correct those rocks, right?
Right.
Keep moving around. Yeah.
Right. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to some Brene Brown on
Brene
my
Brown,
drive
great
down
teacher.
here.
Yeah.
She's really influenced me. I've read 4 of her books in the last month or month and a half, and so I'm on this Brene Brown kick. And she said that you have to sit in your discomfort, and that discomfort is a wave.
It is a wave. I love that.
I
Yes.
love it. I quoted it, put it on Facebook yesterday or the day before, whenever. Because you get that overwhelming feeling like there's a boot on your chest, and it's real. And yeah, I think just sitting in that for a minute to fully understand and not reacting right away, not doing what we always do, it really matters. It's such an important lesson to.
It is important. And sometimes what happens is that when we feel like we stuff it down, we don't want to sit in it, we kind of isolate ourselves from it, and then we start feeling isolated.
Right.
Rather than going into it and recognizing, I do believe when we tap into that spirit, you can call it God, universe, spirit, Buddha,
Right.
Allah, whatever you want to call it. When you tap within yourself, you recognize we're all connected.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then that helps you to work through whatever it is.
Yeah, so my other company that I've owned for 20 years is called One Love Massive, and it's, one love, one heart, one destiny. That's always been the mission, is to bring everybody together, make people feel connected, make people feel like they're part of something, because then when you're connected to other people, you realize, wait, we're the same, no matter how different we thought we were when we started this journey together.
Yeah, what's in me is in you, and what's in you is me. And you know what? We all go through lessons. It's just at different times.
Totally.
Right? So sitting in the pain can be hard, but we can move through it and open up to it. And that is kind of what I teach too. It's like, go in there. What are those lessons? What are those imprints?
Yeah.
I don't go with imprints. I keep showing up in the present life.
Right.
And then I do Akashic readings. So through the Akashic readings, we open up, and then we start to make new spiritual contracts with ourselves. Because we don't do that, right? We make them without realizing, or we come in with them.
Totally.
But we can actually work with that.
That's amazing. So how long have you had this podcast?
So actually, I started first as Catch Your Spirit on Blog Talk Radio. It was a live call-in. And it was just kind of like, let me educate. And then after a couple of years there, I think I moved over to Libsyn as a true podcast format maybe 2 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, and changed the name, I think maybe a couple of years ago, to the Empowered Spirit Show. It matches the programs I have. I have an Empowered Spirit program.
Gotcha.
Which teaches people these techniques.
That's amazing.
That's partly what I do. It's like, don't depend on me. Let me teach you these skills.
Right.
Yeah.
Teach man to fish kind of thing.
Yeah, like teach you how to use your intuition, teach you how to use Reiki energy, teach you how to tap. I actually wrote a book when I actually fell on my face called Confessions of a Shower Tapper. So I use emotional freedom technique, and I kind of confess, okay, I tap in the shower. It looks pretty silly. You're under your arms, top of your heads, but it helps to rewire the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I teach other people to do. So then they have a toolbox. They have a spiritual toolbox that they can go to. When they're out of sorts, when they're lost, when they're in that limited beliefs.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes it, even just having some tools in your arsenal makes things a little bit less overwhelming, because you're like, well, I have a way to combat this that works for me right now. Even if it won't work forever, it works right now.
Definitely.
And you could just double down on that until other things work.
Yeah.
So what's been your biggest challenge with podcasting?
I think it takes a lot more time than I realized.
Yeah.
I think it's just getting it out there and, getting the listeners. And right now I'm having a little bit of technical challenges.
Right.
I just moved recently, and setting up my room again and not having the same setup I had before. And trying to work in a co-working space too, because sometimes I'm, not at home and running back and forth to the studio. Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's a little technical right now. And I do notice from being here and all the great, amazing speakers that I am doing a lot of things right. And so it's just like, okay, let me step it up a little bit.
Oh, that's nice to hear, right? It's reassuring.
Yeah, and so just figure out what I'm not doing to help complement that and just keep pushing it to that next level.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to answer any questions and help you get on the right track with the right equipment. So I have a studio in DC, but I'm in a beautiful, historic castle mansion house. It's like a museum on the first 2 floors. Such a unique opportunity. I'm so great. Every day I go into that studio, I'm like, how the hell did I pull this off? But I'm so glad. Thank you, universe. But I'm on the 3rd floor in the turret of this beautiful house. It's amazing. But it's noisy, and so we've had some sound challenges, and it's historic, so I can't hang anything, It has its challenges, but we figured it out. But previous to that, I was in a co-working space, and that is the most hostile recording environment on the planet, because they're all metal and glass and all of them. It's not specific to any of them, but at least in DC, they're all metal, glass, concrete, exposed ceilings, exposed HVAC. It's like a lot. It's like a blueprint for that, model. And it's really tough to record in those spaces, but I figured out some ways. And that Rodecaster is a big part of it. It's got some really great built, and this is certainly not a sales thing, but just FYI, it has all these great presets. So at my studio, we have a huge Persona 16 channel, digital display, super expensive soundboard. And my engineer kind of likes the Rodecaster better because of all the de-esser and ducking tools that are built into it that just take out so much post-production. So it really makes a difference, right? What you're doing. But I'm happy to help, specifically with your environment on how to, get you where you need to be so that it's not, because having a technical problem with your podcast is a great thing, because that's an easy fix. Not being a good interviewer, that, there's other things that are harder to address. So that's not a bad situation.
But when you have bad sound, I was interviewing someone last week. It was a great guest, Mark Gober, and he has a great podcast too, and he has an engineer that does everything. But I kept picking up a sound, and I had to stop, kept picking up a sound, and I never really fixed it.
Right.
What do you do? You know? Yeah.
It is what it is, man. Those are the worst feelings too when you like
It
do it.
is.
Like a couple of times here yesterday, I was trying to go live and the Wi-Fi kept going out, so a couple of the interviews got messed up, and it just sucks, man. You want to get it right, you know what I mean? You want to do a good job the first time, so it's
you
hard.
do, but you know what? Again, too, this is a learning, growth. You know, podcasting is still kind of new, so we're all just kind of learning and putting it out there too, and having it out there, I think, is important. And then coming to places like this, the She Podcast Live has been great.
So cool.
Yeah, and meeting other people and just looking at all the equipment and. Yeah.
And it's nice too to just like talk to women about stuff because it's just, I don't know, it's just nice to have other women, especially when it comes to gear. You know, I've noticed I'm getting a lot of traction there and I love it. I love empowering other women to like go out and make better content.
There we go.
It's just great. So tell everybody where they can find your content and your podcast and how they can join up for your programs and all that, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my main website is terriannheiman.com, and you can find pretty much everything there. My podcasts are on all the podcast apps, Pandora, iSpot, you know, all of those, and iHeart, all of them. And I think that's the best place. I'm Terri Ann Heiman on Instagram, and Facebook is a little different because it was so long ago when I started. Natural 4, that was one of the, and I am doing a little rebranding. But that's really it, and I do have some live stuff coming up. I do work online as well, but terriannheiman.com is the best place.
And do you do public speaking? People can hire you for that?
I do public speaking, yes.
I can see that. I bet you're good at it.
I enjoy it a lot. It's just the topic. Again, I'm in the South, so I am trying to branch out and get out there. I have an event next week, Intuition as a decision-making tool. So getting really specific with that. I've got some great sponsors coming in for that. It's going to be a fun morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah, teaching these skills to leadership women in the corporate environment as well as just everyday life, because that's everyday life is important.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a really great client, Monique Maley, and she does rapid growth leadership communication development. So when companies go from 3 people to 50 because they got funded, or when companies merge, like how to handle that, like internal and external communication. And it's just a pleasure to be around, you know, people like her who just have so much knowledge about, you know, branding and presentation and communication. It's really kind of uplifted my skills and, you know, how I view things. So it's such an important thing to bring to the community and to women. So thank you for doing that work.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for showing me all your equipment. You got a customer here.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, that's awesome. I appreciate it.
And I did. My girlfriend's come over because even like with the video and the mic there too. So it's like I feel like I'm screaming at the thing. I don't want to do that. You know, I want to be able to be who I am. So
Exactly. Well, and you don't have to worry about that stuff, right? Like you can just focus on creating good content. And technology is moving so fast that there's like great portable handheld devices that, you know, are amazing. So it's just time. And the more, you know, it's, you know, we were just talking to another woman who owns a media company. It's like the more we can put women in, you know, the spotlight and in media and sending good messages, it just changes the overall like dynamic of everything. And so the more women that can go out there and create amazing content, the better off all of us will be, including the boys. So,
you know, I think it's true because you know what? There is another part to that we probably don't talk about, but like the difference between a woman getting ready and a man getting ready to jump into the you know, setup, there's like a bigger back end than the guys. So like having some of this now easier is very helpful.
For sure. Because then you can focus on what you want to say.
Right? Yeah. And how you're going to look, the appearance, you know. I mean, you know, for women, it's not just go put on a fresh shirt. It's like, you know, all that other things we have to do. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to get the camera angle right so you don't look...
So when we know our equipment is working better, it just helps us then to like kind of jump into that feeling so much better.
Totally.
Right? Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me.
Thank you, Molly.
It's been fun just chatting with you and getting to know you, and this interview is great. I'm definitely going to check out your content.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm trying to empower myself and learn more and just take in some, you know, as much feminine energy as I can so that I can continue to just feel good about being here, you know, and being part of the
these
community.
tools are for everyday life, and that is just like so important that we have the ability to do this. Yeah,
because everyday life can be really taxing.
Can be.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the internet, and again, please, if there's anything that, you know, I can do, or Heartcast or podcast outfitters can do to elevate and help you be successful, then like I'm here for it.
All right, thank you. To your spirit. Namaste.
Awesome.